Um, this is just a short file on mapping maps, holographic maps, or radio programs, codes, mapping holograms, and um, and even though I didn't say this outright, it's sort of a given that it can be translated without actually saying what I'm about to say. Um, when I talked about my experiences when I was working in fire control, I try and be careful the words that I use as to what they mean. Um, the eternal spirit of fire. I'm chasing the spirit of fire. I'm chasing chaos generators to cool the base and settle down, be calm, mass balance, stability. Stabilizers, the vertical and horizontal stabilizer of a sphere, a rainbow sphere. So I've shared where I was at there in Seal Beach, California, in the USA in 1980 is when I arrived after I went from the U.S. Forest Service and mapping that area, that location, and then did a lateral transfer from the United States Forest Service to the U.S. Navy as a civilian. And worked for base command at the Naval Weapons Station. So you realize everything that they store there. I'm mapping everything that they're storing there. Okay. And the changes that are taking place and the speed at which they're taking place multidimensionally. The multidimensional acceleration of mapping. Okay. The radio codes. Everything that's happening simultaneously. And the speed at which change. Okay. And this is when you can get into predictive modeling. When God seed, the Nomi seed, the stealth code is faster than that system, than artificial intelligence, than quantum intelligence. That's the source field. So source is mapping. It's like having a pair of eyes where the eternal source field, the God source, the God seed atom, is seeing what I see and mapping what I see and letting me know what's going on. And that's mapping systems. That's mapping system software. That's God Force software. That's God Force technology. That's the first field of consciousness, the eternal state of consciousness, the eternal state of spiritual being, which is eternal love. So my consciousness is the Christ star because I experience being the Christ star. I'm Mana because one I serve is the one I am. And that's basic logic of water, building a water table, breathing a water table. Cells love to breathe. Cells love water. The coolant effect, the mass media effect. So when you shift, say as timelines, potential possibilities of future potential memories, right? As it relates to checkmate, 7 moves, and of full integration. The still point of true vacuum. And so when I was at the Naval Weapons Station, I'm mapping that whole field, everything around me, from the standard point of a sphere, a rainbow sphere. Aurora. So when I moved from the Naval Weapons Station in Seal Beach, now I'm mapping a different part, different location, different spin point location, different nodes. Now I'm going from the Naval Weapons Station at Seal Beach up to the Downey facility where the space shuttle program is. Then I went from the space shuttle program going through every one of those buildings because I had a key to every door. Okay, because of the clearance. They gave us, because of what was happening at the Naval Weapons Station in Seal Beach, to operate an operating system there, you needed a permit. But it required 2 permits, which are called 2 clearances. One was top secret security with the U.S. Department of Defense, the War Department, the War Machine Department, and the U.S. Department of Energy, which is called a Q, a QI clearance, quantum intelligence clearance, because they were performing work. The Department of Energy was performing experiments. So I was in the building where they were performing the experiments to map the experiment and what they were doing. Okay. And so you realize how this works with uploads and downloads of sharing, mapping what we're mapping and the speed at which we're mapping and making transfers to the Guardian of Lights. Those nations that honor the highest code, which is the Nomi seed, which is the God seed atom, the first pressure wave, the crystal spiral, Crystal Sophia, the crystal cathedral, Alhambra. Yeah, and so there I go from the space shuttle facility, and now I'm down there on the Navstar program at the satellite facility, which was right next to the Information Systems Command, the QI Systems Command. So Rockwell International had the Information Systems Command, the Space Shuttle Transportation Command, and the Satellite Command. That was all within a very short distance of each other in time and degrees. So that little facility where they were doing the satellite programs, I was mapping all of that, which was known as Navstar. That's their Skynets. From 1980, how long was I there, Mama? From 1980 to 1984, yeah. Before I got booted out of there. After I went to the president of Rockwell International and told him right to his face, "You're committing war crimes here." Okay, and as it relates to mutagenic, which is teratogenic effects that causes damage to the reproductive system. Okay, to poison the water on the planet. And that affects every species that's trying to reproduce another what it's aware of. The software crashed the whole shebang. Crashed the whole grid. Crashed the entire 15D D812 grid. That's what it does. It's killing itself off by killing others off. That's a universe killer. That's universe killer mathematics. So that's what we're mapping. We're mapping God seed mathematics. Now we're mapping universe killer mathematics. Because that's what it does. The game of numbers. Killing numbers. Once you've decided upon a killing, we become less sensitive. And less sensitive over time, what happens? No feelings left. Operating solely on the mental field, and the mental health field is sick. Now we have a psychopath. Now we have a vampire on the loose. The biggest vampire. And that's a threat level analysis. That's what leads to quarantine. Victim victimizer. Victim QI victimizer. The game trap. Stuck in the game. Generation after generation after generation after generation. So we had to wait to a very specific time and point. That's why we're here now. That's why the change is taking place now. That's why the cosmic reset is taking place now. That's why it's happening now, right now. Magnetic alignment is heart alignment. The heart and soul, the first spark, the crystal spiral. So that is the benefit of the one I serve, is letting me know. It's God's seed mapping. And that's what allows us. That's why I took the assistant chief of the department to the chief of the department. Because you're able to know, to protect all living life forms. If I allow him, just like in Vietnam, if I allow you, because you're leading all of us, and we're required to follow your orders, and I become aware that if I follow your orders, I'm going to experience the result of that. And I'm not supposed to experience the result of that because what you want to go do in the future as a future potential memory, I already know the result of that. I know that the future potential memory, the result of who I am, I'm not going to experience that. So I don't want anybody on this crew in this fire station to experience what's going to happen if everybody follows your orders. So we're going to change the order sequences here. So that's what I did. That's God's seed sequencing. See how that works? That's how water works. That's chapter 5 in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. How it works. 12 spheres, 12 steps. The stairway, the step, the sequence of the steps, the firing order. I know. I just woke up. Hey, there's the sun. Can you see the sun? Aya mama, muave aya to all of you. Zaluk aleaya.